Hey, party people. Okay, so I'm Davy Sutton, and we're going to be cracking the content code on what you should be posting and how, and giving you some key nugget strategies for 2017. I'm going to first tell you about me. I'm Davy Sutton. I'm a traditional broadcast journalist. Worked many years as a sports anchor for a handful of networks, and left that to do some of the things that you guys are doing. So now I have a production company. I create everything from documentaries to segments back to some of the places that I worked with before. If you go to the airport, sit down at the gate, you can look up at CNN, you can see me do some travel tips there. I have a contract with USA Today, and I create travel videos for them, and also do a lifestyle blog. But we're gonna go down the line, because this is a very diverse panel, and so we'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Paula Rollo. I am a blogger. I've been blogging for about 12 years, back when it was not really a thing to do this for a living. And about 4 years ago, I realized, like, oh, people are making money doing what I do. I should try that. So I tried that, and my family was like, it's fine if you fail, because nobody really understands our industry, but I didn't, and it's my full-time job now, and I run 4 different sites and just love social media and blogging and everything that we get to do as creators.
Hi, I'm Selena. I play with food. That's my job title. So any of that, like... Oh, okay. Is that better? Okay. Thanks for that call out. All that cute food you see on Instagram and Pinterest that you're like, I don't have time for that, I'm the one who has time for that. So I've been featured on BuzzFeed and Martha Stewart. I'm a contributor for Family Fun magazine, and my work has eventually led me to a full-time social media content job at a major beauty company that I'm sure most of you shop at. So.
My name is Lee Gordon. I'm the Director of Global Public Relations for Mercury Marine. I'm not sure how we haven't met in our past. We have very similar. I was a television news anchor for 15 years for CBS and Fox, and I was the NFL on Fox sideline reporter. I was the one that was always asked to interview the coach that was losing by 25 at halftime as we went in. So at some point, I'm sure our paths will have crossed. But I flipped the switch over into the public relations side. And now I run all the public relations and communications for Mercury Marine. And Michelle was up here yesterday talking about all the different marketing campaigns, but I take the other side of it. I do the PR side. So content creation is all we do every day.
Melissa?
Hi, I'm Melissa Hunter. I am the co-host of the Mommy and Gracie Show, me being the mommy in Mommy and Gracie Show on YouTube, 725,000 subscribers and growing. My background originally, I was an operations executive in Manhattan for a large commercial real estate firm, so I'm sort of a numbers and analysis and process geek. So about 3 years ago, I started the channel because I have MS and I had to retire from the commuting to New York life, and my daughter said, let's start a YouTube channel, and I was like, oh sure, that'll be fun, something for us to do. It took off, and then I was like, ooh, there's a business. There's a whole thing going on back here. So I got very into the business side of YouTube and content creation, and I launched a company 3 years ago called Family Video Network, where I curate together family-friendly, kid-friendly, brand-safe content creators, and we collaborate together, and you know, we work together with brands, and so it's become a whole new world for me.
I'm Chris Ashback from Dan330.com. You may have seen our website around. We have about 2.5 million social media followers across all the different platforms. A couple things we've really focused on was working with other bloggers to create a community of really good content, because we found that it's really hard for us to make enough to have 2.5 million people consume all the time. So please check us out for that. We always love guest bloggers, that kind of thing. But one of the things that we've done for a long time was the virtual reality and the images, even back to the 90s before this hit the whole social media scene. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So, but it's really one of those opportunities that's really cool, because you heard about the short form visual content. It's wonderful short term visual content, and it's also a great way to develop trust. When you look at a building or a facility or something, it's easy to take a picture looking in one direction and make it look really good, but to have to set it up and show the entire room, the entire facility, or the entire venue, you see everything. and it really is a way to develop trust, and we heard about that a little bit this morning. So keep that in mind when you make content, because even some of those leading edge things really can develop a lot of the things you've already heard.
Did he tell you he was a pilot? I don't know if you heard that part.
My side job is I'm an airline pilot, but
I told you, diverse panel here. So there's a lot of things pulling at consumers of ways that they can receive content, and we call that consumer ADD. And what I want to start this off with, Selena, what is the 1, 2, 3 step way of how you evaluate what content to push to your audience?
That's a good question. I would say that I always start with what kind of value can I bring. It's not so much like how many numbers can this hit. It's more like how can I, make sure that my followers have like a valuable takeaway, something that can inspire them to create content on their own. And so a lot of things that I do is a matter of, taking something that's very common, something that's very mundane, something that's everyday, and making it unique. Pretty much something that you might feel like you've already formed an opinion about, whether it's like a kid thinking that he can't eat broccoli and then realizing that he can because it looks totally different. I mean, that's the spirit behind what I do. It's that creative drive and that creative take on something that you think you already have an opinion about. And I think that surprise and that unexpected delight of seeing something in a creative way is really my goal with every post.
Lee, from marketing, first as like coming from broadcast and then as a marketing, you probably have a good way of knowing how to understand what the audience may watch. How do you get your audience's attention?
Well, the way we do it now is try to promote. Boating is fun. Buying a boat is not a logical decision. You don't wake up in the morning and go, you know what, I'm going to buy a boat today. But it is fun. You saw that video yesterday, and what we try to do at Mercury is try to really think about the news philosophy. It's every single day is we go in and we have our production meeting, and what kind of content do we want to create? And every single one of us, we've got 6,000 employees, every single one of us is a content creator, so it doesn't have to be just the marketing team, it doesn't have to be the PR team that is doing this. Every single one of you who's wearing one of the red Go Boldly hats, hopefully is a content creator for us. We strategically did that for a reason, but we try to determine what do people want to see? And it can't just be about the features and benefits of the product. People want to see somebody that looks like you, that looks like me, that looks like Chris, that looks like out on the water and enjoying time with their family. And if they can see that in the content that we create and they go, I get it, I have that aha moment. It's not just about we're faster or better torque or things that nobody really understands. It's on a Sunday afternoon, I can go out, spend time with my wife, my kids, my family, and enjoy it, and Mercury is what makes that happen. That's the kind of, that's where we all layer everything up to.
You get them to forget all the logic.
Forget
just go buy
your life,
a boat.
just go have
go
fun
buy
out
a
there.
boat.
Yeah.
Melissa, you push a lot of content, and then you talked about the network you have. What is your strategy secret for like what you need to prioritize for your audience?
I think the most important thing, especially because we are a family video network, is to keep our integrity first and foremost. So always to keep in mind that our audience is very heavy on the kids side and very heavy on the mom side. And so it really needs to be something that we believe in, whatever content we're creating. And then the second thing is that you have to be having fun. You can't fake it in video. People can see. People can tell if your child is repeating something you told them to say, or if it's authentically coming out of them. You can see in a family vlog if a family is pretending to have fun at a restaurant, or if they really did enjoy themselves at the restaurant. So I think, using our integrity, and when brands come to us and they approach Family Video Network, we try to match up with channels that would really enjoy that experience. And sometimes a brand will say, no, but we want this channel because they're bigger. And I'm like, you know what? They're vegan, so they're not going to go to your restaurant. You want the real right match. So I think that's really important for creators to keep in mind and brands to keep in mind, is that there needs to be a really legitimate, authentic match that has integrity, and then that's where the magic happens.
Chris, what would you say your strongest and most successful kind of technology that you use, and how did you discover that?
Well, you know, that's an interesting question because the technology is always changing and it's always there, but the core at the base of it, it's always about touching people. You have to reach them and touch them on a level that they are affected. And when someone reacts emotionally to something that you do, you know you succeeded. That's a big part of creating trust with your followers and influencing them. If I give you information and it's just garbage, who cares? It's a waste of my time, it's a waste of your time. We shouldn't do that. Let's make sure that as we make content, we're using whatever technologies are there appropriately to reach people so that we are being effective and purposeful of what we do.
But what is your
My
personal,
favorite?
Yeah.
You know what? Personally, I really like the live streaming, and I really like not when it's you know, you said it very well. It has to be authentic and real. People know when you're faking it, and that's when you have to get out there. Live streaming is probably my favorite right now, followed by the VR, and then obviously the blogs and the content, traditional
Paula,
social.
you have 8 books, and you're a blogger, and you teach bloggers to do things, and so writing is your core, but you have an interesting way of how you kind of made a pivot or adapted and incorporating video into what you do.
Yeah, so I do a little bit of Facebook Live in groups that I manage, and so I've kind of let webinars move to Facebook Live, and so I'll just bring people into a private group and then host live videos. I kind of let them know when they're happening. I recently did an affiliate masterclass for 4 weeks, and so people knew 8 p.m. on Tuesday, I'm going to be there and I'm going to be talking to them in a very laid back, authentic way. They know that I just put my kids to bed, so they might hear them yelling in the background while we're talking about affiliates, and it's okay. And it's really fun just to be able to connect on that personal level with the bloggers that I'm teaching and be able to like know that I'm in the same position they're in, balancing kids and blogging and business, and it's been really fun.
Melissa, so I know your core is YouTube, but can you talk a little bit more about the technologies that you use? And she creates a show that runs 6 days a week. Talk about your strategy on producing. How often do you shoot? That seems very daunting.
It does sound very daunting, but it actually, we usually film it all in one day. So originally we were trying to film, my daughter and I review toys, mostly dolls. And to say we review is really not accurate. It's more a show about the two of us being idiots, and there happen to be toys involved. So our rally cry is #SoProfesh, because we never do retakes, we drop things, I say the wrong name of the doll, we break it, whatever. We pick 1 day a week, and we just go down, we have a little studio in our basement that we set up, and we just film it all, like without stopping. And you know, usually by about like the fourth or fifth video, we're getting slap happy, and so those are always the good ones. And then we do incorporate sometimes while we're in the in-between, because we sort of show things in their packaging so people know what to look for on the shelf, and then we unbox it, and normally we cut there and we take it out of the box while we're, you know, not filming. What we started doing was we started live streaming the part where we're unboxing. So they have this sort of, the people who catch us on the live stream are seeing a behind the scenes of a video that we're making, and they really seem to enjoy that. And it, you know, so we're like, oh look, we've got extra content to give them through this. So that's really interesting, is how you can sort of use a live component to augment what you already do. And now what's really exciting is on Wednesday, if you have the YouTube app on your phone, you can now live stream directly from your phone on YouTube, which was a long time coming, but it is awesome.
So since she talked about live stream and Chris talked about live stream, let's make a pivot to live streaming in different ways. Because Selena, you live stream on Instagram and talk about how you have incorporated that. And what I'm curious about is like, how do you measure if that's good for your audience? Because it goes away into infinity, you know?
Right. Well, I think that the baseline thing before you even start thinking about live streaming or Instagram stories is having that trust with your fan base. I think having something that they know that they can always look forward to, that they know that they can expect from your channel. And I think that trust is so fundamental to the fact that it makes them want to have a relationship with you. And that's really what we do. We're creating relationships. And I think it's so important to remember that it's about that and not so much the product or the contract, but it's about how can I maintain that trust in that relationship, and how do I give like teasers and little things, little extra things that I already know that my fans are interested in, whether it's about my technique or whether it's about the kind of material that I'm working with. So knowing the fans and giving them what I know they're expecting and then a little bit more has always worked out for me.
Are you able to actually have measure that to see? I mean, I guess you can see the views, but are they giving you feedback to saying? I mean, on Instagram, can you see the views for live stream? I don't think you can. I mean, as it's happening, but then it goes away.
It does, but then
That's
the
my
thing is
problem.
that, but the nice thing is that you can see the engagement afterwards. There's always a boost in engagement in terms of total reach on your static posts afterwards. So that's always something to keep in mind. Instead of just narrowing your scope onto that one channel, you see it's kind of the ripple effects of that afterwards, and just writing that and being able to keep going, I think, is really key.
Lee, from a marketing perspective, how do you guys incorporate it at Mercury Marine?
Well, Facebook Live is the one we use the most. So a good example is next week is the Miami Boat Show, which for us, that's our Super Bowl. That's when we have some of our major product launches. And so the show will start at 10 o'clock, and we'll have a nice gathering at our booth at 10:15 when we do these product launches. But you're talking about 100, 200 people who will get there. Now, the key to what we try to do is, the message is, the hierarchy is, bring Miami to the world. And that's what Facebook Live does for us. So, our customers and boaters in Australia and Singapore and California can see what we're doing right there, right now. So we'll have, 3 or 4 different, we've got 35 different social media channels all across the world. So it's not easy to maintain them all, but we use Facebook Live because we found that's the single best way for us to get the word to the masses. And we don't measure, I don't like impressions. For us, that just doesn't matter. It does not matter for us. What matters is, who have we reached, how have we reached them, and can we continue to build that reach? Because we get measured on our P&L statement, not impressions, not social followers. It doesn't matter if we have 100,000 Facebook followers or 1 million followers. If the sales aren't here, then that's all vanity metrics for us. But we do want those people. But for us, Facebook Live is the best way, just to, how do we reach the most amount of people in the shortest amount of time?
Now let's talk about gadgets and gizmos aplenty, virtual reality, augmented reality, and 360 video. So, Chris, you use VR, we use VR, and then one of the companies I have a contract with, USA Today, uses VR, and they did a live VR live stream during the inauguration with 3 cameras, and they switched between the cameras, and I think it changed the game on what you can expect from like big networks. But then on a smaller scale, how can you guys as content creators and brands use virtual reality and 360? First of all, the difference between VR and AR is virtual reality. There's a booth back there. I encourage you to go take part of it, but that's when you are immersed in the world. And augmented reality, the best example I can give you is Pokemon Go. So it's real life. You see the picture of real life, and then you place the virtual characters on top of real life. I started off using 360 video for my production company, and I have a popular video that is about Israel, a video tour of Israel. And I decided to change, because you have to time out how long your viewer is going to take the tour. They're going to look up, down, and all around. Is that a 10-second clip? Is that a 30-second clip? So now what we do on my lifestyle website's Facebook page is every Thursday we post a 360 video. So you can take your time and explore the scene, and we put posts up and down, all like little notes of like what the tour might be. But Chris, you use 360 or virtual reality?
Well, we do both. And the biggest thing to me, it gives you an opportunity to take a reader or anybody and stick them somewhere. It's not just a picture, like a postcard. I mean, a postcard is great, but being able to experience something by looking around and hearing the sounds around you and be able to follow, maybe that bird is kind of cool. And you look across and you follow it. You get to experience what it's like being in that area. You control what you see, not the person who designed it. Because I think a lot of times people have a purpose to what they're writing for, and maybe it's to sell a place or to do something, and they very purposely crop things out of a picture. You can't do that. And I was talking about it develops trust that way. It's just a better experience, and it's a good way to develop that trust. I really like that concept. It's a great technology.
So here we are again with like now there's a whole bunch of things that we're juggling on pushing to our audiences. So Paula, how do you adapt to like what your audience may want, something that you may want to try? Like how do you decide what you're going to prioritize to push?
I think for me, one of the most important things is starting with who my audience is. In the blogging community, there's a lot of talk about what your niche is, and people will be like, oh, I do food, I do parenting, I do this. And when I kind of realized that you could go broader than that and say, who is my reader? What age are they? What demographic are they? How much money do they have? When I really zoom in and define this person, that allows me to then start solving problems for them. And every piece of content I create is around what this person who's, you know, a young mom who has kids age 7 and under, she's on a budget, she's strapped for time. That tells me all of these things I can write about instead of just saying, well, I have a parenting blog and I only write about parenting. Suddenly I'm writing quick and easy recipes, and I'm writing all of these other things that wouldn't necessarily fit in a boxed-in niche. And so that kind of, it helps with working with brands as well, because I'm able to go to a brand and instead of saying, yeah, I run a parenting site, I'm able to say, the target demographic that you're trying to reach is this, and that's who I talk to every day. And it's really broadened my readership and allows me to do a lot more than just
That's a
one
good way
thing.
to manage requests. Selena, how do you manage kind of like requests from audiences?
In terms of
So like, yeah,
creating
they might,
content for requests.
you might have some of your engaged readers say like, oh, well now that you went that, I want you to go to Disneyland and do this, you know, like how do you kind of manage that and still keep those loyal followers?
Oh, sure. I think it's a matter of how I write as well. Not only in terms of like the visuals that I produce, but how I write. I write very much like I'm talking to my friends. I'm very self-deprecating, and I think that that sort of disarming of like, hey, you know, I do professional things. I've written for, and I've created content for all these companies, but at the same time, like, you know, I haven't given my kids like a bath in like a week, you know, like there's just something very personal and very relatable in what I do. And I think even when I do high level content, I offset that. So however your personality is, in whatever way you know that you connect with your audience best, I think working that into the content and making sure that that relationship is preserved, I think is so important.
So I call this my, like, I asked the panel before to give us like one big golden nugget takeaway that they've personally experienced that they can provide. So I'll start with Lee. What would you say kind of like, now that you've discovered, if you're somebody that's creating content, and now that you've discovered what you're actually good at doing, and I'll give myself an example. I've always loved storytelling, and then I've loved video when I was younger. So then I had to work on that skill set. And now that I have this skill set, how do I make people watch, right? What would be your secret?
I think make it about, like you said, make it about the people. So using an example that we have, so we have this joystick piloting control, which you can literally drive a boat with a joystick. It's like playing a video game. So if we create a video or a piece of content about all the nooks and crannies of this, it's okay for a box of people. But then we took it a step further and we found a guy he's legally blind, he has cerebral palsy, he cannot drive a car, he loves boating, but this is his freedom, this is his life, this is his livelihood. And he was fortunate enough to let us tell his story, and through that came out of this, okay, that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to tell the people's stories. And the one thing that we try to do is every piece of content we put out, I don't want anybody from Mercury in it. I don't want our president in it. I don't want unless it's a press release about a specific product, it's got to be about the people telling our story. And that's the only way to really have that authentic look, is if other people are telling our stories, because if it's just us screaming it out loud, it's just another brand doing it. So it's got to be about the people, for the people, told by the people.
I mean, that's the biggest thing that I do some courses teaching marketers about storytelling, and I'm always saying, start with the people's story. It's always a people's story. For somebody like you, who, when you started out, you were just being silly with your daughter and you made a show. What do you think from your experience and probably the up and downs, how did you get people to watch?
I think it was the silliness, the rawness, the realness of our content, and I think that's, especially if you want to create video content, and as much video content as we create long term, I think you have to be yourself, whoever that is, because you can't fake it for that long. You can't fake it that much. And so I think it was, and now they've watched my daughter grow up. She was 8 years old. She was a little squeaky 8-year-old. And she's 13 now. She's almost 5'7". She looks like a full-grown woman now. I mean, it's a huge difference, you know, and people have grown up with her. And so, you know, I'm not going to, we don't create content the way we did when she was 8 years old. So I think acknowledging the reality that over time, you know, if you're in this for the long haul, you're going to change, your interests are going to change, and just be really raw and honest with the people that are watching you, and they'll stay with you. I mean, some may leave, and some might go find another cute little redhead who's a little girl, but a lot of them stay with us because they're sort of growing up with us and changing with us.
What about you, Chris?
Well, you know, I think these two are exactly right. You know, Lee talked about telling people stories, and you were telling your story, and that's really what being authentic is about. You know, if you're an influencer or a content creator, so much of it is just telling your story. Be you, live a fun life, do things that are interesting to people, tell them about it, live stream it, show them what you're doing, let them relate, bring them into that. And that's how you get that authentic content, and it fits both on the brand side and on a creator side. That's where I'd go with it.
And then from that point, like, you might have everybody developed an organic audience. Did anybody else use any other marketing strategies to kind of push to get those potential viewers or readers? Anybody? No?
Just like out of the box ways to get readership.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like one of the things I really love about our industry is how you're on your own, you kind of wing it and figure things out, but also there's so much collaboration with other people. And I think people in not influencer marketing don't really get that. Like, these are your competitors, why are you working with them? But working together and kind of saying like, hey, she's great at images, and that's something I'm awful at. Like, in real life, I'm terrible at images. But I'll pull on somebody that's great at something and say, you know, I have this to offer you, you can do some images for me, I'll help promote because I have a bigger following over here. And you kind of get free work out of each other, and you get the benefit of working with other people in an industry that can get a little bit lonely when you're sitting alone in your office by yourself 8 hours a day. So I think that can be really fun and really unique about our industry, and you can kind of lift each other up and get more views for everyone.
Okay, so now we have 5 minutes for questions. Does anybody have a question? Because we can do the box.
Where is the box?
The box is right there.
Well, they took it about from us.
Huh? No?
Nope.
Oh, yeah. Can we have the box?
Where is the box?
Oh, I don't have it.
I don't have the box.
No, he has it.
Oh, he's got it right there over there.
Bring the box.
You could throw it to him. In the front row right there.
Front row.
No, you have to throw it. That's the fun of it.
Yes. So there are some of us in the room that kind of work at the behest of clients and companies. And when it comes to things like augmented reality, virtual reality, they tend to be a little more costly than your average, you know, ways to feed content out there. So do you guys have any tips as far as like kind of being able to move the conversation forward in an attempt to get client buy-in to do things like augmented reality and virtual reality?
Yeah, show them an example of what you've done.
Yeah.
And then, of course, show like the engagement after, and like there was success and that. But I mean, I guess the proof is in the pudding is a way to kind of show them like this could be you, you know. What have you done? Because you actually sell to clients.
Yeah, first of all, I'd say the product has to sell itself. I mean, if I'm trying to explain to you why something's really good, you know, you can take that or leave it, you know, round file it in the garbage if you want. But, you know, you have to have a good product. Show people that, hey, this is really cool. Let them experience. If it's something they're interested in, you know, then you can. You know, as far as I've been able to do that successfully with hotels, VRBO properties, that kind of stuff, because I show them, look, you can take a picture and let someone actually stand on your deck and see what it's actually like on your deck and look over the lake and see how beautiful it is. They can look around and see it for themselves. And I said, it's a lot more effective than just showing a picture of a lake in a picture in front. So I've been able to do that kind of thing just by showing examples and just being upfront with what the products are. And that's been very effective for me.
Anyone else? Oh. That was a handoff, not a toss.
Yes, yeah, sorry. This is directed for Paula. Yes, Paula, as a professional blogger, like what would you say is the most difficult obstacle when it comes to like not starting a blog, but starting a specific post? Like how do you know it's the right content? How do you know it's viewable, or do you just go with your gut feeling? Let's do this.
Let's do this. I'm a let's do this type of person. I like to experiment a lot. So if I have an idea, I'm just going to go for it. And if it epically fails, then I figure out why and I try the same thing but slightly different. And I think that there's a lot of strength in that. If you just succeed the first time you try something, you've learned nothing and you probably can't replicate it. So just kind of giving yourself permission to go forward and fail a whole bunch of times until you figure it out. You're gonna end up way farther ahead than somebody who just lucked into a viral post right out the gate.
Thank you.
Okay. We have time for one more.
Am I tossing this?
No, I don't think so. Okay, so with everything, there's a call to action. So when you create content, you should always, whether it's a Instagram post or a blog or a video, the video, what do you guys say? Like, subscribe. If you like this video, subscribe. All of us are in your session panel, so if you like us, you can subscribe and follow us. Thank you guys for your time today, and moving on to the next one, I suppose. Thanks.